Welcome to the Survive Scale Soar podcast. Hear and learn through the success of others how to build the life and business you deserve. Learn to overcome failure, what it means to seek out growth, and how to become the best possible version of yourself. And now, here's your host, coach, entrepreneur, husband and father, and author of the #1 best-selling book, Survive Scale Soar, Jeremy Williams.
And welcome back to the Survive Scale Soar podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy, and this show comes in two formats. One is real talk, where it's just me and the mic talking about things that are happening in our world and how they impact your business and your life. And then there is success talks, and that's where I get to interview some amazing people in their industry to find out what has made them successful. And we have an amazing guest today. It is Jason Hoyt. He is the president of the foundation for Beta Upsilon Chi, or better known to many of the men in this group, Brothers Under Christ. It is a men's ministry on college campuses all across the country. And I'm excited to have Jason here today. Jason, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jeremy. Glad to be here. And hopefully I can contribute and add some value to your listeners.
Great. I know they're going to get some great stuff today. Brothers Under Christ was a big impact in my life. A lot of people that are close to me understand that. I was a founding father for the Zeta chapter at Texas State University, and it really changed my life in college. And it has impacted my ability to lead, and I'm so grateful for it. And it's definitely a God thing that was placed into my life. Jason, tell me a little bit about your experience in Bucks. I know you're a Texas A&M guy, Giga Maggies. Tell me a little bit about your experience there, and then how you moved into that leadership role.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I was a freshman at Texas A&M in the fall of 1996, and at least at that time, entering freshman year, our fraternity Bucks did not have fall rush. So I knew that I was interested in checking out the fraternity, and had met a few guys in the organization prior, and attended some of the open events in the fall of my freshman year, and just really found something unique there. And it was a camaraderie I had not seen amongst young men in high school. Even being involved here and there with some different local churches where I grew up, just didn't really find the deep connection of young men, and was longing and wanting to have that and grow my relationship with Christ. And so I pledged in the spring of 1997, and at that time, Bucks, I think we had maybe 4 campuses around the state of Texas, and we didn't really do a whole lot of things together other than we shared the same name. And so I was a member, became a cell group leader, became an officer, and it was just a really pivotal experience in growing me in my relationship with Christ, and also growing me as a young man throughout college, learning to have deeper relationships with other young men. And we just had a lot of fun together too, and a good, clean, God-honoring fun throughout college. We did a lot of the social events and some destination formals and things like that are kind of staple to fraternal experiences in college, but we did them in honoring the Lord in that process. So it was a pivotal time. Loved it. A great experience. Probably one of the most challenging and rewarding experiences I had during college. And I'm not a particularly emotional person, but my last chapter meeting my senior year was a pretty emotional night, just looking back and reflecting on the 4 years I was in the fraternity, and all the men that I crossed paths with that have poured their time, energy, and efforts into me, and also the relationships I had with the brothers that I was graduating with as well. So just an amazing experience. And as far as postgraduate, kind of an interesting journey there. My one of the guys that I knew was president of our chapter when I was a pledge, and right about the time organizationally, the fraternity was becoming a national entity. And so they hired this guy, particularly his name's Kyle Hoover. He's a pastor over in Austin now. And he was the first ever employee for Bucks. And he had approached me as I was graduating and said, "Hey, do you have any interest in potentially working for Bucks?" And I was like, "Well, that sounds awesome, but I already have this job lined up in corporate finance and accounting with the old Big Blue Blockbuster."
I still got my membership card.
So yeah, I worked there at Blockbuster in their corporate headquarters for the first 4 years or so out of college, and then kind of the opportunity kind of came back around for me to work for Bucks in 2004, and I really jumped at the opportunity to go after that. Really, because I had now had a little bit of perspective in the corporate world. And didn't necessarily see my professional career being a 40-year journey through the corporate finance and accounting route. So really was looking for an opportunity that would be a little more in line with some of my passions and some of the things that impacted me in college. So jumped at the opportunity and became at that time the executive director for the Bucks organization. And at that time, we had about 600 members and about 11 campuses, mostly in the state of Texas. So still pretty small organization. So in the past 18 years or so, we've grown from 600 members to about 2,300 members and about 36 campuses right now, I think is what we're on, across the South, Southeast, and Midwest mainly right now. So I've gotten the opportunity to serve in a bunch of different capacities, be involved in everything from organizational development, leadership development, staff development, expansion of new chapters, to working on leadership development for our collegiate officers, collegiate leaders, developing some of those retreats and things that provide leadership training for the guys. To now what I do as the president of the foundation is really I work on and in the alumni association and building relationships with guys, helping guys transition from collegiate to life. And I do quite a bit of resource development and fundraising for the organization as well. So those are kind of my primary roles now, but I've been able to kind of be a part of developing and growing the entire organization now for a good long while.
Yeah, that's a pretty incredible journey going from something that size to what it is today, and to think about the amount of impact that it's had. And going through that, I know as a leader, and everybody that's listening to this is a leader. You may say you're not a leader, you are a leader. And so I think there's a great conversation that could take place here. Is obviously there were some challenges over the years, and how did your leadership play a role in that?
Yeah, I think when I started, I walked into a Christian fraternal organization and had a great experience myself. And at least in my leadership capacity in the undergraduate world, I didn't face a lot of adversity. And stepping into this role now, overseeing the organization in many different states, and that was adversity kind of punched me in the face as a young man in this role, and I didn't really quite understand why that was happening. But the adversity that we went through produced a lot of fruit and a lot of growth and a lot of great conversations in the organization that were needed for us to continue to grow. And no one really loves to face adversity at all in their life. But when those tough moments pass, you reflect back on like how much you've learned and how much you've grown, how much the organization has grown. And it's really some of the most fruitful growing times, going through some challenges.
Yeah, I think we always want to avoid. There's that avoidance of failure. There's that avoidance of facing and taking on challenges. And what we cheat ourselves of is the opportunity to learn and to be able to grow from that and then take those lessons, apply them. And it's going to happen again. And I always say, you got to fail faster. Like if you want to get better, if you want to get to that next level, you have to keep failing and failing faster and recovering from that. That's where you can see the greatest amount of fruit. Now you had a big challenge here not too long ago, and that was with COVID. And what a lot of people, if they don't have a student that's going to college or have never been to college, or they weren't impacted in that way because of COVID. Give us a little insight to what happened once they made that decision to lock down schools. What happened with the organization?
Well, I think like anybody in our world today, no one really had a playbook for it. No one really knew where to go next. But we were actually on spring break in spring of 20. So the vast majority of our campuses were already away from campus. They were home, on whatever they were doing. And we got notification from our first university that the students were not going to come back after spring break. They were going to give them an extra week of spring break. And of course, at first, students are just ecstatic. Yeah, 2 weeks of spring break. That's incredible. But it was a domino effect, I think, for universities across the board. And I'll probably talk about this later. But universities are really adverse to risk. They don't want to be in the limelight. They don't want to be in the limelight for the wrong reasons. And so there was this domino effect across all of our chapters, all of our universities where our chapters are at, of like, hey, they're basically following one another, giving an extra week of spring break and or going all remote very quickly. And so for us, at first, it was a challenge being a social organization that can't meet socially is pretty challenging. How do you keep members engaged? Why would they want to continue to be a part of the fraternity when they cannot gather together and have fun and do the normal social events that they normally do? So that was immediately a challenge. Fortunately for us, from a bigger perspective as an organization, at that point in time, our members pay membership dues on a semesterly basis. The vast majority of our members had paid their membership dues by that point in time. And so for us in the spring of 20, we were financially okay for the number of months remaining. And so in the summer, I guess it was June of 2020, it became really clear that our fall 20 campuses were going to be impacted. And so then we began to go into sort of the emergency mode that everybody sort of went into that owns a business or is in business, and try to figure out, how do we survive this? And so what we did initially was we wanted to retain as many members as we possibly could. And so we made the decision, one, to reduce our membership dues for the fall semester, to try to retain as many guys as we possibly could. And then we went directly to our leaders and we began to prepare them for, hey, how do we operate the fall semester via Zoom like everybody has, or digitally, and how do we prepare them to lead through that? For some of our chapters that are smaller in nature, it's not incredibly difficult to host a gathering of 30 or 40 guys. But some of our larger chapters are 100, 150, 200 members, which is really challenging to, do anything productive on a Zoom call with that many people other than just talk at them. So one of the things and value propositions I think Bucks brought to the table that was unique to other fraternal organizations is we have what we call cell groups, which are small groups of 4 to 6 men that meet together weekly, and that's their opportunity to really kind of share the things that are going on in their life, things that they can need prayer for, just bear one another's burdens and, fight for one another in their walk with the Lord and their growth as young men. And so for us, largely, we were able to continue to meet in groups of 4 to 6 people, even though, abiding by all the protocols there, we could still find a way to do that. And so that was kind of a linchpin for us to hang our hat on that guys would look forward to that. It was largely outside of their roommates, probably their only social interaction they had that semester. And so we were able to really focus in on providing value to our guys there. And we were really successful, I think, in doing that. And so, membership was still down a little bit, but I think because of the way we are structured with cell groups that we were able to work through that. And then by the middle part of spring 21, things were starting to kind of open back up on college campuses, and we were able to finish out that semester with doing some of our normal activities towards the end of the semester, which was fantastic.
Yeah, I love that, and how God used that situation to fall back onto the cell groups. It's that in order to get big, you have to get small first. And I could only imagine those conversations in that intimate setting of 4 to 6 people, the amount of growth and how God blessed that.
Yeah.
Where a lot of other fraternal organizations or sororities might not have had that, just because of the size or the way they're structured or their mission or their values or whatever it may be. That Bucks had that.
Yeah, it was pivotal. It was instrumental. I mean, guys were struggling. Things that men don't talk about much is, in areas of mental health, depression, anxiety. Men don't really talk a lot about that. And it was really a fruitful time for guys to be able to talk about, their fears and their anxieties and, what is this? How is this going to affect my college experience? How will this affect the rest of my life? Some things that became real difficult questions, I think, that college students were struggling with during that time. So it was really, really fruitful time to be able to have that for those guys to connect with one another during a difficult time.
That's awesome. With Bucks, looking at the bigger picture in the world, what is the challenges that Bucks may face against things that maybe the world might see it differently?
Well, for sure. I mean, anybody who wants to walk faithfully with the Lord and, live their life from the scriptures is going to face adversity. I mean, that's Jesus just promised that to us. And so, yeah, I mean, on a personal level, it's tough to be a college student who's a professing Christian these days. They face lots of challenges to their faith and challenges to conform to the masses. And as I kind of mentioned earlier, I think universities are largely risk averse to things. They don't want to be in the limelight, in the news for all the wrong reasons. And so, as a way to do that, they tend to look for opportunities to where challenging situations can be resolved quietly, and Bucks and we firmly believe in the freedom of religion, the freedom of association, and we firmly believe that that's built into the rights of our people in our country to be able to gather together and to worship the Lord however we see fit. And so that's challenging these days when some of the cultural issues are buttoned up against traditional Christian values. It's very challenging, but we continue to pursue that and pursue the opportunity and freedom to connect with one another, and the truth ultimately will prevail. And I really think that's a big part of what college experience should be, right? It should be experiencing, learning, different viewpoints, being educated, learning how to think through difficult issues, and learning to decide, hey, how do I want to live my life as a young man? And, I think to some degree, college has done that. And to some degree, colleges look for the easy way out, and are in the cultural ebb and flow of the cultural challenges of today, which can be, difficult for a college student to navigate through some of those things. And so having an opportunity again to come together with a group of like-minded men who are pursuing brotherhood and unity in Christ together provides an avenue to discuss some of those challenges that they're facing in college or in some of their classes, or whether I make this decision or that decision in my life. And those are good, right, and healthy things. And as Scripture would say, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. So I really believe that's a big part of what Bucks provides for a young Christian man in college.
Absolutely. Where do you see Bucks in 5 years as an organization?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think if you had asked me that 5 years ago, I would have had a really good answer for you that would not have included, a year and a half, 2 years of interruption. So it's kind of a hard question to answer, but, I believe that what Bucks provides college men is more relevant today than ever. And the need is greater than ever to have a presence and have a place for young Christian men to gather together and have a God-honoring fraternal experience. And so my hope is that while we're at 36 campuses now, I hope we're, 45 to 50 campuses in 5 years. And, I hope we grow up to 3,000 or so active members. We have about 8,500 right now known alumni in the organization. So obviously that'll continue to grow. But we really want to look for opportunities to do a couple of things. One, reach down to younger men and find a way to make connections to youth pastors and ministry leaders to kind of get Bucks on the radar to, juniors and seniors in high school who are heading off to college. So we want to grow in that area. We want to grow in providing resources and direction to our seniors who are soon to go out into the career world or go to graduate school or go to law school or wherever they're going, to help utilize the Bucks network for information and to gain opportunities for connections for their career development and whatnot. So we're really hoping to expand there. In addition, we're making a lot of growth opportunities in our recruitment and our pledgeship experience. We have this training that we have each spring for our pledge captains, where we gather all of them together for a weekend of training, and we talk about the recruiting experience, we talk about the pledging experience, and we talk about how we want to honor our guys who are pledging our fraternity and the things we want to grow them in. And so those are real areas of growth opportunity, I think, that are building internally strength in our fraternity. So we also do that, something similar for our presidents as well. And we fly them all out to DC, and we spend a weekend there talking about leadership, talking about giving them some tools to really lead their chapters effectively, and really investing into them as young men.
That's incredible. Because when you think about it, it's really the development ground of our leaders of tomorrow, and to have those things instilled of them with God's blessing upon it, it's just amazing. Some of the men that I've gotten to meet that have come out of Bucks and what they're doing now. They're leading organizations, they're ministers, they're all ministers, by the way. I truly believe, no matter what role they're in, but they're truly our leaders of tomorrow. We've talked a lot about the ministry itself, and I know there's going to be some Bucks guys that are on campus, and maybe they want to listen to this. It's because it's Jason, so they're going to listen. And I want you to share with them a piece of advice going from being a a man on college campus being faithful in their service to God and faithful in the relationships in the brotherhood to taking that step out into the world, what is one piece of advice that you could give them so that they too can experience success and blessing?
Yeah, it's a milestone transition in your life. It absolutely is. I know for me, I went from Texas A&M, where, I mean, it's a huge university, yes, and it felt huge as a freshman, but it did not feel huge as a senior. You know, it felt small, and it felt connected, and it felt everywhere I turned, I would know people and run into friendly faces and be encouraged by folks, and and stepping out into your career and going into a place where is unfamiliar and unknown, and seeking to do your work with excellence, and going into an environment that may not be the same environment you've surrounded yourself with in college. It was very, very challenging. And so my advice right off the bat for our brothers that I always say is, hey, where are you going to find your like-minded community? And so you've had that in your church in college, hopefully you've had that in the fraternity, and wherever you move to, where are you going to find your community of people that are going to encourage you to continue to pursue your relationship with the Lord, to continue to pursue Him and other like-minded folks? And I think that's really, really, really important for young men to look for that and to find it. And then in your career, look ahead to, if I stay the course of this career path that I'm starting in, what does that look like? And who are the people in my pathway that have been successful in that trajectory? And go find them and just talk to them and ask them questions. Like, people love to be sought out, and they love to be honored with being able to share their experience with someone else. And now that I'm in my mid 40s, I feel that happening more and more and more in my life, when I get the opportunity to share with a younger person, like, hey, this is what I've been through, this has been my journey. And I love getting to share that, and I think most people do too. So don't be afraid as a young man, entering the career world, to look for, hey, who can provide some wisdom, some experiential wisdom in whatever career field or life place you find yourself in. I think that's just really, really valuable.
It's super powerful. And I always share with my coaching clients is find your five. Find those people that are closest to you, that you can pour into them, they pour back into you. And you've got to be intentional about that. That was one of the things I learned when I got out into the world, is that it wasn't easy, it wasn't comfortable anymore.
Yeah.
I couldn't go to my small group or a Bucks meeting. That wasn't available at that point. And so you have to be really intentional about going out and seeking that.
Absolutely. I mean, in our culture, there's so many demands put on men, especially young men, but finding their way in their careers, and then choosing a spouse, and how do you do that? What does that look like? Is this the right person? Is this not the right person? That's an extremely important decision to make in your life. And I mean, it affects every area of your life for the rest of your life. And so, how do you do that? And again, seeking out wisdom from other people that have been married a long time and can provide that wisdom is just, again, super, super valuable, to anyone in that stage.
That's awesome. All right, so you're the president of the foundation for the organization, and I want to give you a couple minutes now just to talk about how, like, somebody listens to this today, maybe they have a student that's going off to college and, they may have an interest in joining Bucks. How can I impact that? Or maybe they don't. They just have a passion for wanting to help, young men, seek out the Lord and walk faithfully. How can they support the Bucks organization?
Yeah. Well, I would say, yeah, I haven't gone through this yet, but it's fast coming. I have 4 kids myself, a girl and 3 boys, but college is on the horizon in a couple of years. And so I don't have a lot of advice for, a parent going through that. But what I will say is, from my viewpoint, I've had a lot of brothers that I was in Bucks with, or who are around my age, mid to late 40s, who have kids or friends whose kids are going off to school. And every spring and summer, I'm getting emails and texts and phone calls from those guys saying, "Hey, what is Bucks up to these days? I really haven't paid much attention in the last 10 years, but what is going on, and how can I get my son or my friend's son connected?" And so I've been able to do that. I've been happy to help a lot of those guys with like campus tours and connecting with our brothers on the ground there, who can help, give, the young man who's thinking about going to this school or that school, like kind of a real picture of what it's like to be a student here. I think that's been real valuable. So I'm happy to help out anybody who's interested in kind of learning about a university where we do have a chapter. If you're interested in Bucks, you can find information on our website, byx.org. All of our chapters are listed there. You can put a request in for more information, or I'm interested in pledging, or my son's interested in pledging, or you can reach out to me at jason@byx.org, and I'm happy to make some personal connections for anybody who would need it as well. So it's incredibly pivotal time in young man's life, the college experience, particularly the first few weeks. They're on a college campus, they're meeting tons of new people, and you want them to meet the right kind of people that are going to encourage them to make, good decisions. Getting them connected with their Bucks chapter is a great step in that way to setting them off on a trajectory that would grow them in a lot of their values that you've tried to instill in them as a parent, and giving them a great collegiate experience. And many of our alumni have gone on to do a lot of different things. Many of them are in ministry and missions, tons in the business world, lots of lawyers, lots of doctors, lots of eye doctors, and all different kinds of professions out there. Some real estate folks like you, Jeremy, and just a lot of different career opportunities. And there's a lot of alumni that are willing and wanting to help young men in their next steps in their career development.
Well, Jason, thank you for taking the time today. You gave out some amazing information. I know we talked a lot about college men and campuses and all those other things, but there's a lot of lessons in there that those in the business world can take from some of the experiences that you shared and be able to apply them, whether it be to impact their business and life. And so, Jason, again, thank you for taking your time, taking time with us today.
You bet, Jeremy. Thanks for having me, man.
All right, until next time, onward and upward.
Thank you for listening to the Survive Scale Soar podcast. If you heard something that made a difference in your life today, share it with someone that might benefit, and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Learn more about the host of this podcast and coaching services offered by Red Hawk Coaching by visiting www.redhawkcoaching.com.